Hello fellow coffee botherers, I'm Kev from coffeeblog.co.uk and in this video I'm going to be talking once again about the Sage Barista Pro. This is the second video in my new series on the Barista Pro, and in this video I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison with the Bambino Plus and helping you hopefully to answer the commonly asked question: should you go for the Sage Bambino Plus with a separate grinder such as the Smart Grinder Pro, or should you go with the Sage Barista Pro? The most obvious difference between the two machines, of course, is that the Barista Pro has the integrated grinder and you'll need a separate grinder with the Bambino Plus. While this may be a pro for the Barista Pro in terms of convenience, I believe this is actually a pro for the Bambino Plus and Smart Grinder Pro, or another separate grinder, due to something called exchanged retention. In case you're not familiar with exchange retention, it's the amount of coffee that ends up in the basket you're grinding from the last time you ground coffee. This is why we purge coffee each time we adjust the grind size with most grinders. Otherwise you'll have a mix of grind sizes in the basket, which makes it very difficult to dial in. You'd also purge the first time you use the grinder after a while, or the first time in the morning, so you don't end up with stale coffee in the basket, which also hinders dialing in. With most domestic grinders, you need to purge a few grams of coffee when dialing in, adjusting the grind size. And I've become accustomed to purging a few grams with the Smart Grinder Pro and 0 when I'm using the Niche Zero. But as I said in the last video, I found the initial dialing in process a bit frustrating with the Barista Pro, as I wasn't aware of the fact that you need to purge more coffee with the Barista Pro grinder when dialing in. I'm doing more experimentation on that at the moment, but I'm finding that it takes at least one full double basket to be purged through the grinder to be fully set at the adjusted grind size. My tip here is that if you're going to go for the Barista Pro, buy your coffee by the kilo rather than in 200 or 250 gram bags, and consider sticking to the same coffee beans for a while getting to know the machine before starting trying different beans. Personally, if I was wanting to use my espresso machine with lots of different coffee beans, I'd probably go for the Bambino Plus and a separate grinder. If I was wanting to stick to one main coffee bean, at least for a while before trying another, then I wouldn't see this as much of an issue. So this is a win for the Bambino Plus and the Smart Grinder Pro when it comes to dialing in. However, you can change the brew temperature with the Barista Pro, which you can't with the Bambino Plus. And this is a win for the Barista Pro when it comes to dialing in, as the ability to change the brew temperature gives you an additional control when dialing in, so it kind of evens itself out, I think. Footprint is very similar, as you can see. Water tank size, we've got 1.9 litres on the Bambino Plus and 2 litres on the Barista Pro, so very similar. Drip tray size is a big win for me for the Barista Pro. The drip tray is much bigger, much more usable, much more practical, and it also has a storage tray behind it to put your spare baskets in, etc. The portafilter on the Barista Pro is definitely better quality than the one on the Bambino Plus. It's a proper heavyweight portafilter compared to the plasticky, more domestic portafilter on the Bambino Plus. Having said that, you can buy the portafilter for the Barista Pro and Barista Express, and it will fit the Bambino Plus, and you can buy them from the Sage or Breville websites. The Barista Pro has a hot water outlet which the Bambino Plus doesn't, and you can't use a steam one to dispense hot water with the Bambino Plus either, although you can with the base level Bambino, which isn't currently available in the UK. The Barista Pro is much easier when it comes to getting into the cleaning and descaling cycle and adjusting the volumetric shot buttons. On the Bambino Plus, it's a series of simultaneous button presses, and on the Barista Pro, you just press the settings button. The Barista Pro has a wider footprint than the Bambino Plus and has more weight, so it doesn't move around on the countertop when you're locking and unlocking the portafilter. Although, as I've said in previous videos, I've got used to that with the Bambino Plus, and I just keep one hand on the machine while I'm locking and unlocking the portafilter with the other. The steam wand on the Barista Pro is on a ball socket, so you have more flexibility over the angle of the wand. Steam ready time should be about the same, as they both use the same thermojet thermocoil, but let's see. Interestingly, as you saw then, the Bambino Plus was actually marginally quicker, which in theory I'm not sure why it is, whether it just takes a little bit longer for the steam to reach the steam tip from where the thermocoil is positioned in the machine maybe. There wasn't much in it, but there was a slight amount in it. Let's try that again. Even though they've both got the same new Thermojet thermocoil from Sage, the Bambino Plus is just marginally quicker when it comes to steam ready time. They both have a 4-hole steam tip, so they should take the same amount of time to steam milk. So let's test that as well. Let's see how long both take to get up to 60 degrees with 200 ml of milk. "43 seconds. Bambino Plus. Try that with the Barista Pro, 200 ml again. 45 seconds that was. So we've got 43 and 45 seconds, but to be fair, I'm going to do it again with both and see. 43 seconds again. 43 seconds. So actually, that time they were both exactly the same. So I can only imagine that last time I got 45 seconds on the Barista Pro. It could have been I had the jug slightly cooler, or had not purged the wand as much as I did on the Bambino Plus or something like that, but that time they were both exactly the same. The Bambino Plus features the auto steaming option, the Barista Pro doesn't, so that's a pro for the Bambino Plus if you want to use that option. Personally, I much prefer to manually steam milk, but each to their own. Price-wise, the Bambino Plus and Smart Grinder Pro at full RRP is about £100 cheaper or $100 cheaper in the States than the Barista Pro. And the Bambino Plus and Smart Grinder Pro are identical to the price at RRP of the Barista Express. Shot quality, as far as I can tell so far, no difference between the two. In theory, the ability to adjust the shot temperature gives the potential for slightly better extracted shots once you're dialed in. But remember, it's going to take longer and more wasted coffee to dial in with the Barista Pro. Another pro for having separate machines, of course, is that you can upgrade the grinder. If you have the Bambino Plus, you could decide to sell your Smart Grinder Pro and upgrade to the Eureka Minion or the Baratza Sete, for example. So, which is best, the Barista Pro or the Bambino Plus with the Smart Grinder Pro? I really like both options for entry-level home barista setups, but unless I find there's a really easy solution to reduce the amount of coffee that needs purging when dialing in, I'd have to conclude that it depends on how often you're going to be changing your coffee beans. If you're planning on finding your perfect coffee beans and sticking to these, then overall I'd probably say the Barista Pro. I think being able to control the brew temperature is great, and I prefer the bigger, more practical drip tray, and I think it's quite nice having everything in one package. If you want to continually change your beans, for example if you've got a Discovery subscription such as Blue Coffee Box, Dog and Hat, Batch Coffee, etc., and you want to use a different 200 or 250 gram bag each time and you want to properly dial in, I'd go for the Bambino Plus and Smart Grinder Pro. You could have burned through half the bag or more before you properly dialed in, which is very frustrating if you end up getting just a few well extracted shots out of a great bag of coffee beans. So there you go, that's what I think about the Barista Pro versus the Bambino Plus and Smart Grinder Pro. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, click here to watch another one. And don't forget, if you want to become an official Coffee Botherer, you need to click this image around here somewhere to subscribe to our channel. Also, to become an accredited Coffee Botherer, and with all the benefits that come with that, just go to patreon.com/coffeeblogkev. Tatty bye.